You ever wake up and realize the universe is just daring you to lose your mind? Yeah, that was me. Montana, winter. One step from frozen, and the HOA decided to torch my last lifeline. They didn't just burn firewood, they burned the kind of stubborn, mule headed preparation. That's the difference between Survivor and Story on the 6 o'clock news. And here's the kicker, they never even saw it coming what I'd do next. Now, I'm not here to tell you some classic red blooded revenge tale. No, this is about gravity, about patience, about how sometimes you just got to let the mountain talk and keep your mouth shut, at least until it's time to let the water run. The first time I saw this valley, it was late October. Wind, sharp enough to peel your face, air so thin it clinks in your lungs like change in a jar. Out here, the mountains don't care if you got medals, scars, or nightmares. When it gets cold enough, every man's just meat trying not to freeze. I learned that back when I wore a uniform. 22 years carrying a rifle for uncles who never learned my first name came home with a duffel, a medical discharge, and a teenage daughter who needed a place where the sky didn't explode every night. So I bought this old cabin tucked against a ridge that stole the sun by 3 p.m. in December. Built in the 60s, honest ugly with a deed older than dirt. One little line nobody had read in decades. Full ownership and maintenance rights to the emergency spillway and manual gate above the neighborhood. My grandfather's handiwork. His name scratched in concrete. Still there the day I ran my thumb across it and felt something settle inside me that hadn't settled since Kandahar. I prepped like a man who's seen what happens when you don't. Chainsawed birch and maple, stacked 4 cords so tight you could walk on them in your socks. Built the shed myself. Double walls, steel cage for propane, mouse-proof, bear-proof, idiot-proof. Canned goods lined up like recruits. If the grid died, and it always dies, we'd eat beans, not wallpaper paste. Neighbors watched through triple pane glass, pretending not to see. Most came here for the view, not the weather. They trusted contracts and heat pumps. Me, I trusted sweat and diesel and the smell of wood smoke. Then came Karen Stratton. HOA president rode up my drive in a white Escalade, so clean it squeaked hair, and smile, shellacked to within an inch of their lives. Mr. Harland? She chirped, sunglasses flashing my woodpile right back at me. Several residents are concerned about the volume of your outdoor storage. It's firewood, ma'am. Keeps my daughter from turning into an icicle when the power lines snap, which they do every year. She didn't even blink. Of course, safety is everyone's priority. It's just the quantity appears to exceed the allowances in our visual harmony standards. Section 4. C. Section 4. See, I said, like a man reading off a wanted poster. You mean the one that's not actually in the covenants I printed off the county site last week? She faltered, then smiled harder. We're updating the language this quarter. I'm sure you want to be a good neighbor. Ma'am, the only neighbor I'm interested in being is alive in February. I took the notice, folded it, and went right back to stacking. 3 days later, another notice. Red border, bold caps. Violation. I photographed it, timestamped it, filed it, went back to work. Out here, winter doesn't care about your covenants. It only respects preparation. The first real snow came the night Maggie turned 16. By midnight, the house was wrapped in silence so thick the world outside could have been erased. Maggie slept upstairs, wrapped in her grandma's quilt. I stood at the window mug, gone cold, watching drifts climb the fence like invaders. The county plow never came. HOA had their own guy. He cleared their cul-de-sac first, made perfect arcs with his blade. My driveway untouched. I chained up the old Ford, cut a trail, and when I got back, another glossy envelope taped under my wiper. Photos of my shed, my propane cage, my woodpile circled in red like a sniper's crosshairs. Fines started rolling in 75, 152, 75. Visual obstruction, noncompliance, administrative processing. By the end of the week, over $600. Maggie asked Daddy, can they really make us leave? No, kiddo. They can make noise. They can make paperwork. But they cannot make us leave this house. Not after 22 years of blood and sand. This is ours. But the pressure kept building. So I documented every letter, every fine, every made-up clause. Set up trail cameras, started a digital folder, HOA evidence. Then came the escalation. The shed burned. 3 a.m. motion alert goes off. I step outside, air so cold it shatters in your lungs. Shed door ajar. Chemical smell, orange glow. Flames took everything I'd built that summer wood, propane food. Fire crew came too late. Tom Griggs, the chief, walked me around at dawn. Started back here, he muttered, gas can accelerant, someone sprayed your camera. Porch cam caught 2 figures, one with a red gas can, both gone in less than a minute. Not enough for an arrest, enough for war. My lawyer Ben called. Don't give them what they want, Harland. They're trying to make you snap. Keep your head. Document. Wait. And don't touch that spillway yet. Touch. But you know, there's a difference between revenge and letting the mountain settle the score. The forecast called for 3 feet of snow, then a freak warm front. 36 inches of powder on top of a frozen reservoir, with the old emergency spillway paved over by Karen's pet contractors. I looked at Grandpa's topo maps, traced the line of the spillway right through Phase 3, the brand new cul-de-sac they built on the floodplain. They took our heat, Maggie whispered feverish under a mountain of blankets. No kid. They just took the easy heat. We still have options. I hiked out in the storm, dug out the spillway, hatch key, still fit. Turned the wheel. 1 full rotation. Felt the ancient gears wake under the ice. Heard water start to move slow and steady like a promise. Locked it up, marked it with a broken aspen branch. The thaw came fast. Creek roared, snow slid from the roof in slabs. Maggie's fever broke, but the power didn't come back. We were burning the last of what little wood I'd salvaged. Called for help, County said. Sorry, sir. Private HOA roads. Plows can't get through. You're on your own. I smiled for the first time in days. Exactly. Kissed Maggie's forehead, told her I'd be back, and walked out to the spillway one last time. Unlocked the hatch, turned the wheel. 3 full turns, metal screamed. Water roared. It started slow, polite almost. Then the ice cracked, and the valley remembered what it was built on. Downstream, water surged through Phase 3 like a freight train, chewing up lawns, swallowing driveways, flooding basements that never should have existed. Karen, out in her bathrobe, screamed into her phone as water climbed her calves. Car alarms wailed. Generators drowned. The sheriff's deputy showed up, nowhere to go, private road underwater. I saluted him from the ridge. News choppers arrived, and suddenly everyone remembered that floodplains don't care about bylaws. By afternoon, county inspectors were taking core samples, finding every lie Karen had ever told. Emergency HOA meeting. That night, Karen gone board dissolved, all fines suspended. My neighbors, some who hadn't spoken to me in years, started dropping off kindling. One left a bundle of wood on my truck without a word. Forgiveness isn't a speech. It's a nod and a hand with the heavy lifting. The lawsuits came, of course. $42 million for malicious flooding, emotional distress, environmental terrorism. My lawyer just laughed, said, "This isn't a lawsuit, Harland. It's a suicide note." We brought out every scrap of proof, the original deed, every fake violation, the arson report, the camera footage, the maps. Judge Corrin tossed the case in 4 minutes flat, referred Karen to the county for arson and fraud. By summer, the bulldozers came. Phase 3 demolished, turned back into a meadow. HOA dissolved, replaced by a bare-bones group whose job was to keep the road plowed and stay the hell out of our lives. Karen vanished, rumor said Arizona. Never bothered to check. We rebuilt, new shed taller and tougher than before. Sign out front Harland and Daughter's Outpost. If you can see it, it's here to keep us alive. County welded a plaque on the spillway in grateful recognition of responsible management. Maggie painted the shed doors blue, said it looked like the sky the morning the water finally left. And here's the lesson I learned late, but not too late. You can survive a lot if you stand your ground and trust in things older than your enemies, like gravity or a good neighbor or your own daughter's stubborn heart. Some battles you fight with paper, some with patience, and some you just let the water win. The night we finished stacking, the new wood neighbors came for a potluck. Nobody brought up fines. Nobody worried about fences. Someone raised a jar. To Dad, who taught us the only way to stay warm is to let the water run where it was always meant to. Victory's not the absence of enemies. It's the presence of people who see you. Really see you? Later, Maggie asked, "Think winter will be easier this year?" I looked at our shed at the valley that finally felt honest and said, "Winter will be winter, but we'll be warm." So here's my question when the rules are stacked against you. When power gets drunk on its own reflection. When the people who ought to protect you turn on you instead. What would you have done? Where's the line between justice and vengeance, between patience and letting yourself be walked on? Tell me. Let's hear your stories about surviving, about standing your ground, about finding warmth in a cold world. And maybe, just maybe, about letting the water do what it was always meant to.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.